Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
My boyfriend and I broke up, but he's a good dude and the biggest Jay and Dan fan you'll ever meet. If you come to Japan and see any comments or requests by the user, and she gave the username, he's a big fan and good tour guide.
So is she pimping out her ex-boyfriend to tour you around Japan?
Yes. Don't play as much as I used to because my body hurts after I finish golf.
Old man Toolsy.
Luckily, I sat in my hot tub that still is red. It's like you're sitting in a bowl of Campbell's tomato soup. Well, it's not that thick because that would be disgusting because unless you made your Campbell's tomato soup with water, and I hope you don't do that. What is he?
So
he's just like a cup groupie?
The down cup groupie, I guess you could call him that, yeah.
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast.
Dance. Got it right this week. Hey, welcome to the Jay and Dan podcast. This is our second last episode without Jay Onright, and we're back together again come Labor Day. Labor Day, the end of the summer. The holiday no one looks forward to. It's August 19th. Glad you're with us. We got a great show coming up. We're going to recap a trip to Bristol, Tennessee, where I went down this past weekend and went to the Bristol night race. Great time. But we have to start off with a very, very big announcement. If you're a regular listener of the Jay and Dan podcast, I'm Dan. Jay's not here. Stoff is in the control room. Is it the control room?
Mission control, yeah.
Mission control, okay. We've been talking about the Jay and Dan podcast, which our Western Swing is this fall starting September 20th in Victoria. Then we go to Vancouver the next day. Then we're in Calgary on October 4th and Edmonton October 5th. And then we hit Saskatoon, Winnipeg, and Regina. And our major announcement is our Saskatoon date, November 1st, is sold out. You snooze, you lose. Going to be a great time at the Broadway Theater. That's our sellout siren. November 1st, Saskatoon, the first one to sell out. And then we hit Winnipeg on... Okay, yeah, we're good. I think we're good there. Thanks. Oh. November 2nd in Winnipeg. Then... November 15th in Regina. That one was just added a few weeks ago. Ticket sales are going great. If you want to know what to expect at the Jay and Dan podcast tour, hey, it's us shooting the we go check your town, talk about your town. We bring special guests up on the screen, special guests in person. It's a blast. It's a bunch of like-minded people all hanging out and having a laugh. You don't get to have.
It has changed my life.
It might change your life. You don't get to have a laugh. I can't talk today. I'm sorry. You don't get to have a laugh a lot. So get a babysitter for the kids. That's the great thing about this tour is all the dates are on Friday or Saturday. So it's not during the week. You're like, oh, geez, I got to work tomorrow. No. You pedal to the metal. We want you to have the time of your life. I almost choked to death before I came in here, so sorry. Sometimes that happens to me. I choke on my own phlegm, and my eyes water. Then I walk around the building, and everyone's probably like, oh, my God, that guy just hit the bong. So I have to say I just had a choking fit. I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, sure.
They still think you hit the bong.
Yeah. Used to have a roommate who loved the bong. One day I broke it. Has not a good smell.
Yeah, bong water? Not good.
No.
Especially in a carpeted area.
No, it was not carpeted, thank God. And then we got into that. We've discussed this on the podcast before, how much it would take for you to drink bong water.
Yeah, I believe it came down to that or the vacuum water.
Oh, like from a dry vac?
Yeah,
or a wet
I think
dry
that's
vac?
what we were talking about.
So.
Well, it depends on what you're vacuuming up.
Yeah, but still, at least the bong water's just water mainly.
Yeah.
Those carpets. Yeah.
Both are gross. So before we get to our guest, it's going to be Rutledge Wood. He's works on the NBC broadcast, the NASCAR broadcast. Ran into him at the track. He's always been a friend of Sports Center with Jay and Dan. He's never appeared on here. He's got a new show coming out on Netflix. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Bristol. We're going to talk about the other car stuff that he's done. He's a big car guy. Grew up in Alabama. Great name, Rutledge Wood. Killer name. Almost as good as Jake Cave, who's the current major leaguer. Before we get to that, though, I said to Stoff, I'm like, we have some time because Bobby Roode, the wrestler, cannot join us. Just like last week when he couldn't join us. There was a good reason. He was a part of Monday Night Raw. He found out middle of the afternoon. They're like, yep, you're in. So after that, we were talking the next day, and he's like, okay, I'll let you know Monday if I'm in the ring or if I can do the podcast. And our good friend Jacob Ullman, one of our bosses at Fox Sports, is a big wrestling fan. He just sent me a picture of Bobby Roode in the ring. So unless he gets on a cell phone, because he's a part of a tag team.
Yeah, so whenever he's not in the match, he could come on with us, technically.
Technically, yes. That would be another first that we've never had here. So before we get to Rutledge, I said to Stoff, I'm like, I love doing this. I love listening to clips that don't appear very often on the podcast. So how are we going to do this?
Well, I got a couple clips lined up that are, I guess, underused or we haven't heard from a while.
Perfect.
And I also have one that kind of disappeared from our database, and I've been meaning to pull it in, and today's the day.
All right.
So that's quite the tease.
Let's start with that one.
Ooh, all right.
So these are drops from the show that we insert that come from our show or come from other things that make us laugh, and here's some of them.
I shot them with that and I got it.
Do you recall what that is?
That's Alex Ovechkin when he got a hole in one.
Very well, very well. And then it's obviously followed up by this.
I swear to God.
We use that on the TV show a lot. I swear to God.
Yeah, we used to use it on 1.0 version of this podcast, and then it kind of got forgotten about, I think, once you guys came back. I never ended up re-importing it, and now anytime someone swears to God,
I swear to God.
Friend of the podcast, Steve Webb, former New York Islander, he just finished a tour of China with Alex Ovechkin. Said it was a great time. They're spreading brand awareness of the NHL. I said, so does Ovi get mobbed over there? He's like, we were in the busiest section of China and not a single person. So they still have some work to do over there.
a little bit.
Yeah, but that's to be expected, I think. What else we got?
Well, this one here would just kind of go with our bong talk from before.
Yeah, I do like that one.
Not bad, not bad.
Very good audio on that.
We got Shanetti's laugh, which is pretty cool.
Oh.
It's like a car starting up and then dying.
Let's hear that again. I've never heard that. Matthew Shanetti, our CFL sideline superstar. Shooter, we call him.
It's an underutilized drop, but we'll reinsert it back into rotation.
Okay,
here.
good. Anything else?
This one I believe we never actually got to, but it was an interesting clip that I pulled from the morning show one time from Carlo. Let's have a listen.
If it's soft and warm, get in my mouth.
I don't even remember the context.
I believe he must be talking about a cookie.
I hope so.
I swear to God!
Carlo, what a guy. The
What a
cup
guy
groupie.
indeed. Yep. The cup groupie.
Anything else? This is not going as quick as I thought.
Here we go. All right.
I was going to.
But here's an oldie but a goodie.
Okay.
I'll kill your dog.
All right, that's from Stranger Danger.
Stranger danger threats.
I'll kill your dog.
He's the last one to talk to the kids, yeah.
And then what happens to the dog? I wonder.
Do we have the You Sure Are a Cute Kid, the guy who sounds just like Jeremy Taggart?
Well, let me dig that up a sec.
You're sure a cute kid. You're sure a cute kid.
No. The come on, it'll be fun guys. The guy who sounds like Taggart. Yeah, now it's all coming back to me, stranger danger.
Come on, it'll be fun.
There we go. That's maybe the greatest thing that's ever been done on this podcast, the stranger danger.
The stranger in the injury, yeah.
That was version 1.0.
That was version 1.0, and then on our Ottawa show, we also did that on the video screen.
Yeah. I think we'll be breaking out some oldies but goodies because we have the capabilities at the live podcast to show videos.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that it?
Well, that's what I got right now. Would you like some more?
No, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
I figure we save some for next week.
Yeah, so we can give Rutledge a call right now, and then after Rutledge, because Nate Diaz was just in the octagon this past weekend, returned after a couple of years off, multiple years off, and he won. And he has appeared on our show before in one of our most famous interviews in which Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor went at it on our show. And then Nate Diaz, a few weeks later, or months later, appeared on our show, and we thought he was going to kill us because he entered the studio and said, "Oh, it's you guys." We're like, oh, geez. So we're going to replay both those interviews because why not? Why not, eh? So Rutledge Wood, great sideline reporter or trackside reporter for NBC. Just a really nice guy, very well respected in the broadcast industry and in the NASCAR community. He loves his vehicles. And the first question I'm going to ask Rutledge Wood is that your real name? Because it is almost too perfect of a handle.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm great.
It is, in fact, my real name.
Okay.
I mean, I wish I could tell you that it's something like more clever. I'm named after John Rutledge that signed the Constitution here in the good old U.S. of A. This might not surprise you. I never met him, so I don't know if that's 100% true. But that's the story that was told. So it's actually my middle name, but I've gone by that my whole life. And I actually went by Rut. It was the very first time on Speed Channel when they put me on TV, and they said right before we went on, they're like, "Oh, do you want us to put Rut or Rutledge?" And I don't know about you, I'm not a big hunter. I didn't grow up shooting things, but I learned in my short time there in NASCAR at that point that rut is the season of the arousal of the male deer.
I didn't know this.
I didn't either. I grew up in Alabama. I had no idea, but I knew that people were going to think I was weird, and I was like, I don't know if I need to hand them this, like, one more thing to not like me about. Let's put Rutledge on there. So overnight, at 26, I became Rutledge, and then that's what everybody called me from then on.
See, I always just thought a rut was, hey, I'm stuck in a rut. I didn't think it had anything to do with animals being horny.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? NASCAR fans did that too.
Hey, you were born and raised in Alabama.
Yep.
So here in Canada, when you're born in Canada, you pretty much are born with hockey skates on. Is it like that for NASCAR in Alabama or college football, or what is it like growing up in Alabama?
You know, I think college football is probably like, you're in the Bible Belt, but next to the Bible, the probably closest religion is college football. And in Alabama, you either pull for Auburn or you pull for Alabama. And we ended up moving to Georgia when I was 15, so I went to the University of Georgia, and I never really had to choose one of those. But I still think of all the sporting events, one of the craziest ones, maybe the craziest I ever went to, was the Iron Bowl in Legion Field in Birmingham, and I thought that place was going to fall down. It was shaking and just waves of emotion when those two teams come together. It's like the most glorious redneck party of all time. I think I was 13 when we went, maybe 12. I had just never seen anything like that. So it was funny growing up there because we lived in a cute little community, but it wasn't super posh and it wasn't super redneck. It was somewhere in between. And like I was one of 3 skateboarders at my school, and I played soccer, not football. So most people just assumed that I was gay because I didn't play football. It's that kind of an upbringing there. So it's
So you were born on boiled peanuts, probably, right? Because I always tell the tale of my first time I ever went to Talladega, and we're driving around the golf cart in the infield, and this gentleman who I don't think he owned a shirt, he was standing next to a big barrel, and he's like, "Hey, I want some boiled peanuts." I'm like, "Pardon?" He says this 3 times. He said, "You want some boiled peanuts?" Finally, his buddy's like, he's asking if he wants some boiled peanuts. I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll have some." So, were you born with those in your baby bottle?
Would you believe I was like a little bit of a nervous eater. I didn't eat a lot of weird stuff. I didn't have a boiled peanut until I was at least 25.
Oh, okay.
What did you think?
I thought they were delicious, like just the right amount of spice. I didn't ask what was in the barrel before he boiled them.
Of course not. Why would I mean? You don't want to look behind the curtain there at Oz. The funny thing is, I think boiled peanuts are really just a vessel to get salt and other like spices to your body.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's funny how like culturally I would always see them around, but I was always like, I like peanuts. Why would I boil them? None of this seems right. And now our daughters love them. They can't get enough. We go to a Christmas tree farm just down the road, and every year it started out that we would get like 1 cup to share, but now each child needs their own cup of boiled peanuts. But the first time you have them, they go through you like a laser beam. You really got to be careful.
So, what is the most southern food that you can't live without? Like, because we don't really have grits up here.
Oh, grits are a big one.
Okay.
I wish I see. That's one. I've yet to really. I've only come to Canada in a half car, half boat on Top Gear when we were shooting that and across Lake Ontario. So I've really yet to have time to come and enjoy your customs because I want to find out like what are your grits, what are your chicken gizzards or. I'm trying to think of whatever.
The strangest thing we have, like the thing we're most known for, is poutine, which is fries with cheese curds and gravy on top.
Which, to be fair, our country's fat enough. I think eventually we would have figured that out. I'm not saying we would have done it in any capacity the way that you guys do, but eventually, like we can put mayonnaise on anything.
Oh yeah,
so
as you should.
I'd like to think, as you should. I'd like to think at some point we would stumble on that. I mean. When you think about Southern traditions, like do you guys have like pecan pie? Is that a thing around?
Yeah, of course.
Holidays. Okay, good. I would say pecan pie, pumpkin pie. Those things were always like big in the South. I didn't know that we have a thing down here called sweet potatoes, but if you add enough sugar, they become candied yams. It's the same thing that goes into it. There's not a difference, to my knowledge, between a yam and a sweet potato. But if you mix marshmallows in there and sugar, then you can call it a casserole.
Since we're on the subject of food, I think it was a Michelin star restaurant that I hit before the race in Bristol on Saturday. Cracker Barrel?
Oh, yes, I've heard. How was it?
Well,
just amazing.
I've never been to a restaurant where you can buy a rocking chair from
cool is that?
From the front of the restaurant.
You can buy like a life-size chessboard where you and your friends can play chess.
I almost bought it.
It's pretty delightful, isn't it? And then like you can buy old-timey sodas and like hard candies for a dime.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to beat Cracker Barrel. And then they definitely they've perfected their cornbread and biscuits. You got to give them that.
Yes,
was there an open fire in the fireplace when you were there?
No, too hot outside. It was about 90 degrees.
Thank goodness, because I don't know. You would think that's like a winter-only thing. I think it really depends on how many elderly people go into that particular Cracker Barrel.
Yes, there was a lot of suspenders.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge suspender crowd. And not like your hipster thin suspender. It's like 5 inches of elastic.
Like those things are working. They're working hard.
Yeah, they are. I saw a guy with suspenders and a belt at the race, and I kind of thought, that seemed like overkill.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the race. So the Bristol night race, this is about the 4th or 5th time I've been to Bristol. They don't sell out anymore, but were you there in the heyday? Because you hear stories about kids being handed down tickets to that race.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I started with NASCAR in 2005 with the Speed Channel, it was still kind of sellout crowd there. And the kind of height of NASCAR, when they started just building everything, Bristol was one of those ones that holds something like 160,000 or 150,000 people, which, to be fair, is a crap ton of people.
Right.
So we had, I think, probably 100,000 people there Saturday night, and it felt awesome. I mean, number one, to see your face there was so awesome, because I just get this tap and hey, I think one of your friends is here, and there you are. Number one, I'm so pumped, because that takes a lot of effort to get down there to go see a race. But as you saw, man, there's just nothing like that on the planet to me. That experience is just amazing.
Well, I was taking our contest winners to the rooftop bar in Turn 4, where they had never been to a NASCAR race. This nice couple, Vince and Marge, in their 60s, they had a blast. I
bet they did.
As I tell everyone, don't judge it until you've been there. One of our writers, Brendo, he went to a NASCAR race, and he's the same. He's like, I'm not going to like it. Came back. He tells everyone, he's like, it was unreal.
And to be fair, I didn't like hockey at all until I went to a game. And for me, growing up in the South, there was one ice skating rink in town. I had one friend that played hockey, Richard Davis, and that was it. And keep in mind, I was a child of the 80s, so there was that 5 minutes where we thought inline hockey was really going to be a thing.
Yep.
I tried that for 30 seconds, and it was this isn't for me. But when I went to a game for my first time and I saw an NHL game, I went, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And now I am a hockey fan. So, for me, I definitely think that being there in person for a race, because there's no way to explain when they drop the green flag and then one lap later when the cars are up to full speed, what that feels like in your body, and just your soul is going, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. So for you to bring people there to get to experience that, and I'm jealous. I didn't get up there to that Turn 4 bar. I wanted to go check that out up on the roof. And it looked amazing from where I was, but I was running all over the place. And I sat in the stands in Turn 3 for about 50 or 60 laps Saturday night, and it was just awesome. There's no bad seat. You can see everything. And if you think about where else in the world can you find one thing like that we're literally watching people go around in circles, and it is still so much fun and entertaining.
You talk about the buildup of speed. That's what makes Talladega. I've mentioned that a million times on this podcast. That's my favorite track because it's so big. It's over 2 miles. So they get to the other side of the track. You see them coming, and they're close to 200 when they come back to you.
It's nuts. And there's no, Daytona and Talladega are that incredibly unique setup to where, you can watch 40 cars kind of dance and play tango at that speed. And it's hard for people at home to really get that sensation of speed. But when they pass you on the front stretch, that's just, it's bonkers. And to see the effects of a little bit of wind, and that's why we always talk about, if somebody gets caught cheating and whatever, and you go, well, how much of a difference does it make? And you go, fractions of an inch. But at 200 miles an hour, fractions of an inch is what pushes somebody out front or not. So, and Talladega is such an amazing event to go to. The race is great, but that's a 3-4 day weekend that any person that loves people, that loves sports, that loves tailgating, you can't lose there. It's just, and you saw it, like the boiled peanut guy. Did you see the tire guy who just wears a tire with suspenders on?
Yeah, I did see him. Yep.
The tire guy is awesome. I want to say his name is Corey. He's a firefighter, and it's funny because if you're there with a female and you see this completely ripped dude wearing a Goodyear tire with suspenders, they, of course, find him and are like, that's the person I want to get my picture with. So you don't see that anywhere else.
No, you don't. You don't see someone wearing just a hockey puck for an outfit.
If you do, you don't want to get a picture with them.
No. Do you get danger pay? Because, again, if you've watched the NBC broadcast, Rutledge, he goes onto the track after these guys have just won the race. I'm like, I hope they see him and don't back over you, because you interview them as soon as they get out of the car.
The hard part is that I've become friends, as you know, when you cover a sport as long as we have, you become friends with a lot of these people. And So there are certain drivers that will see me, especially like a lot of times we'll ride out in the back of like a Toyota Tundra pickup that's one of the trucks that's from the track. And so we kind of go out, and that's in theory like our little safety cocoon. But like Brad Keselowski, I think it was 2 years ago, started doing donuts around the truck. And when he stopped, he was about 4 inches from the back of the truck. And, you know, like if he slams into it, it'll make the news. I'm going to look like a child that's lost and just completely frightened. But this weekend at Bristol, there's not enough room to get a truck out there. So in theory, we just kind of run out there. Well, Denny Hamlin put on such a ridiculous smoke show that if you watch that tape, I don't get anywhere near that thing till the smoke clears because, you know, like I've got a wife and kids, and that's definitely not the story that I want to be in. But what I love about that moment, and I'm sure you do too, is it captures that absolute energy of this person that just put it all on the line and came out on top. And what I couldn't believe, and you probably thought the same thing, is Denny Hamlin just won another race, 4 races in a year, which is so huge for him, for any driver. And the first thing he says is, "Oh, I just feel so bad for Matt DiBenedetto." Like that was huge to me.
Yeah, well, Denny Hamlin, I don't want to brag here, but in our so we have a suite where the contest winners and the Pinty's people who put on this contest, they bring everyone up there. So you $20 a driver, you take them out of a hat. Guess who I had?
Who?
Denny Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin.
Oh!
Couldn't have been luckier.
Yep. So I thank Denny for that. I also got a picture of a guy on that rooftop bar with, I don't know if you saw him, but he had a big sign on his forehead said, "Kyle Busch is a douchebag." So
I did see him. He kept trying to get him a camera shot on Friday night.
So please set the record straight. Is Kyle Busch a douchebag?
He is absolutely not. You know what he is? He is one of, if not the most competitive person I've ever met. And you know, when people used to think that his brother was a jerk, Kurt and Kyle, turns out, grew up in the same household. And obviously that competitive nature is who they are. There are so many guys that race, and gals too, that would go, "Oh, I can't believe I finished second. This is huge for our team. This is going to change the rest of the year." Kyle Busch is absolutely like lives that Ricky Bobby mentality. If you ain't first, you're last. And that's just how he's wired. He is an incredibly kind person. I've seen him go way out of his way, especially for children and people in need. He's done so many things that is not kind of on the forefront. But, you know, if you think about, like, Dale Earnhardt Sr., they didn't call him the charmer. You know, like, right. Intimidator was the most child-friendly thing they could put on a shirt because, like, the a-hole probably wouldn't have sold a lot of T-shirts. But
that's right.
He was as tough and as mean or anything else that people want to call Kyle Busch. And oddly, over the years, I think a lot of people that used to be Dale Sr. fans and loved that edge about him have eventually come over to kind of Kyle's side because they realize he's one of, if not maybe, the greatest driver that we've seen as far as versatility and things that he can drive. And I'm certainly not taking anything away from someone like Jimmy Johnson, who is absolutely maybe the best ever. But Kyle has that ability to, any time, any track, and almost any car, just absolutely deliver and put on a show. And so to me, I think he's fantastic. But I get why on a personal level people can think he's a little rough around the edges. But it's because if you stick a mic in his face and he finishes second, he's going to give you something that's not what anyone wants to hear.
And every sport needs villains. Come on.
Totally. Oh, of course they do. And, like, you know, for Brad Keselowski to walk out at Bristol a few years ago and say, "Hey, I'm Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch sucks," like, that's one of those times when he got all these fans. Or, you know, you look at even someone like Joey Logano, a champion now, has been kind of vilified because of his run-in with Matt Kenseth a few years ago. And, you know, Ryan Newman has gone kind of from, like, the rocket man to the guy that won't let anyone around him. And, like, they interview him, and he says, "What's the deal?" And he's like, "Well, they pay me to finish the best I can. I'm not going to just pull over and let you go." So, and we saw that Saturday night. He was one of the problems that Matt Benedetto had was trying to get around him. So, you know, I think we need those villains. And I think everybody's not going to be charming. It's definitely weird, as you know, to have athletes that can text each other, and we asked them all the same questions, like, oh, are you going to talk to Pete about what happened Saturday night? Back in the day, they would have been like, no, I'll see him again in 3 months when we play him. Maybe they'll make it to the finals, but these guys have to race every single weekend, so eventually they have to see each other.
It was a pretty start to the weekend with your coworker, Dale Earnhardt Jr., his wife, his daughter, a couple of pilots, their dog. They had a landing, and at the end of the runway, their private plane caught on fire. So he didn't work the weekend. As a friend of yours, as a coworker, how do you handle a situation like that? Do you reach out? Do you give them room to breathe?
I gotta be honest, man. It sucked. It sucked for all of us. It was one of those days on Thursday where my phone, I was driving up there and my phone just started going off like crazy. And it was a bunch of my friends saying, oh my gosh, did you see it? Are they okay? Have you talked to them? And I had no idea what they were talking about. So as soon as I got to the hotel, I started to look. And it's one of those things where when you have a friend go through something that big, it's hard to not just think about what that 45 seconds or however long it was for
terrifying,
them.
Yeah.
Terrifying. And I found myself like I kept finding myself crying Thursday thinking about it because, you know, I've got 3 daughters and trying to imagine what that situation was like. And I know it was way scarier and way more terrifying than any of us could ever imagine. But then you're met with this flood of thankfulness that is, oh my gosh, this ended so much better than that ends for almost anyone else. And we had that kind of feeling where I thought it was really great that we all kind of just went to battle and said, what can we do? What do we need to do? Do we need to go here? Does someone else need to go pick him up? Steve Letarte ended up going to the hospital with him, and that was a really a big thing for Dale and for him. And it's funny. I think that Dale would have tried to stay, but I think NBC was very clear and said, no, you need to go home. And I think Dale said, okay, I will, because he's that kind of guy that he doesn't want to let anybody down ever, you know, and I'm sure there was a part of him that even though he just went through that thought, well, yeah, but it's Bristol and I love this place and it's historic. And so he was watching all weekend long, but he also knew that like, no, this is a moment I need to take to just calm down and try to, you know, to just be here in this moment. And those pilots are incredibly talented. And I'm just so glad that everyone was safe. And you saw every single channel that any of us got while we were down there in Bristol. It seemed like they were just covering that the whole time.
Yeah, it was on a loop.
So, yeah, and it's just you just think, man, we are so fortunate that happened the way it did, because tragedy is no stranger to this sport or to private travel or anything else. So we're just, you know, you try to do that mix of be there, try to support any way you can, and then just let them have the space that they need. And you know, if you're into pray, and you send up some prayers.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see him back in the booth soon. On a happier note, I wanted to talk to you because you have a new show coming out. You're a hardworking man, so you're doing NASCAR every single weekend in the second half of the season for NBC, and now you have a show coming out on Netflix, and you're involved with our good buddy Mike Hill in this.
Yes, I'm so excited. I am, and it's a new show called Hyperdrive. It starts Wednesday, August 21st. And the best way to describe it is it's like my old show Top Gear meets American Ninja Warrior. And I mean that in it's 30 people from all over the world in their own cars on these racetracks. And just like on Ninja Warrior, where every time a competitor goes out there, the course has changed. Well, for these drivers, it's the same way. So they never see the same track twice, and there's different obstacles and different routes and all sorts of things. And it's supposed to be kind of like mixing a little bit of rally and drag race and autocross and a little bit of stunt work and just insanity. We shot the whole thing at night in Rochester, New York, and I got to stand next to Mike Hill and Michael Bisping.
Oh, Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping is the most terrifying yet nicest human on earth.
I found that thing, and I don't know if you ever do it when you work with people, and I know you did a lot of stuff in California, too, with a lot of these UFC guys. They're charming and sweet guys, but after a while you get so comfortable that you kind of want to mess with them a little bit. And I would find myself, like, occasionally just looking at him and be like, I mean, I know the camera's on, but we both know I could take you, right? And he'd just get this smile and he'd be like, oh. It wouldn't. I wouldn't even break a sweat. Like, oh, come on, man! Like, let me feel good. I did the same thing. I did this Toyota Pro Celebrity race with Cain Velasquez, and I don't know why I would talk trash to Cain every chance I got, and it was a dumb move. But sometimes it just feels good to feel alive. Like, just feed the animals a little bit.
Bisping, he was getting into it with one of our other UFC commentators. I won't mention who. I guess I can probably say it, Dominic Cruz. And this was like in between takes, and he kept saying under his breath, "Keep it up, little man. Keep it up." Like, you're like, he's gonna murder this guy.
I may have heard that more than once, and I didn't mean to. Just sometimes you find those little things, and he's just such a funny guy, man. And to see someone like that, he obviously understands the competition side of life, and certainly does Mike Hill as well. And Lindsay Zarniak was down in the pits, and she really had that chance to be with these drivers, spotters, and crew chiefs, and see the emotion. It's 30 people from all over the world. So imagine, the husband and wife that put their cars in a shipping container 2 months before in Germany, and then they end up in Rochester, New York. And now they've got to go head-to-head with all of these other crazy people who are doing the same thing. I mean, the pressure was just insane. There was a young lady who came from South Africa, and Charlize Theron is one of the executive producers, and Charlize went and visited her. And I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up on the wrong side of South Africa and to have a father that sold his tow truck to make sure that she could be there and make this trip with her car. And then Charlize Theron shows up to, like, cheer her on in South Africa and say, no, you're going to go up there, you're going to do great. It's unbelievable. And Netflix was so cool to give us that backdrop to go do it. So I hope you'll check it out. There's 10 shows. And we end up with a hell of a winner. So it's going to be crazy.
Did you meet Charlize Theron?
I didn't. I was really
that's a letdown.
And I was like, oh, I wonder if she's going to like me. Like, are we going to be buddies? And then she did that movie that just came out with Seth Rogen. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, if she can fake like Seth Rogen in a movie, she could totally.
Hey, but Seth Rogen. Hey, in Seth Rogen's defense, he's Canadian, so he's likable.
Of course, he's likable because he's Canadian. I mean, almost. Also, some of us that are not as maybe as thin and svelte as you are like, oh, big dudes. We still rule. Okay, great. Like, it's a nice moment. I really do.
I'm not going to say you undersold that show, but on the day that I think you and Mike Hill both tweeted out a promo for the show, it's insane because there's cars on like teeter-totters.
Yes.
And at times it looks like a video game.
It completely does. That's a better way to describe it. It's like driving in a real life video game, and between the water cannons that spray 10,000 gallons of water and you're trying to dodge it so it doesn't smash through your windshield, and that leveler is what you saw, that gigantic teeter-totter. It's 6 stories up on the end.
God.
Like, when you drive straight up, I don't even know how you can do that. And they wouldn't let us try any of it because insurance was so scared. But I think next season I will bring a car that I can do it. But it was just absolutely bonkers and that's why I said it's such a big deal that someone put their own car, their pride and joy, and their money on the line to go do this and shake it out and see who is the best. And like, one of my favorite things was there were all these people, and we did a bunch of dumb stuff on Top Gear US. So I've also spent plenty of time in a parking lot being a moron in my life. But like, have you ever done a Rockford turn?
Nope, no clue. What is that?
Okay, so you remember there was a show called The Rockford Files?
Of course, yep.
Like, one of his big, signature moves was he'd just haul ass in reverse and then spin the car around, throw it and drive and keep going. Well, we had something like that, except there are these insane light tubes that surround the whole thing. And so you're trying to do this move without hitting any of this stuff, without getting penalties, and still trying to keep going. So there were so many things like that people had never seen before and never tried, and it was just awesome to see it all come together.
Okay, wait. Oh, that's the Rockford Files theme.
There it is. I mean, come on.
Stoff put it in my ear, and I'm like, have we been invaded by someone? I didn't know what was going on there.
Is there a brown Camaro pulling it?
So it starts streaming on Wednesday. So can we binge it? Are they going to release all episodes?
All episodes. You can binge away, my friend, and I hope you will, because hopefully we'll get to do a bunch more of these in the future, because already the number one question that I get is, how do I apply? I'm like, you got to watch. If enough people watch, then you'll get a chance to apply.
What's it called again? Teeter-totter Wars?
It's called Hyperdrive.
Hyperdrive. I was kidding. I just wanted to get you.
Teeter-totter Wars, I think someone had already had the website. They couldn't trademark that, but I think that's a great possible name.
I just wanted to get you one last plug in there. Rutledge, we could talk forever because I know your love of cars and how you work on them all the time. But we've run out of time here. We got to wrap things up here.
Thanks for having me, brother. I sure appreciate it. It was great to see you at Bristol.
All right, great seeing you. And, hey, let's meet up at Talladega next.
Come on. I'll bring my overalls. You bring the boiled peanut.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
See you, brother. Bye-bye.
That's Rutledge Wood. You can see his new show, Hyperdrive, on Netflix starting this Wednesday. You can also see him on the NBC NASCAR broadcast. He's trackside. Just a pleasant fellow. You know who he reminds me a lot of after that interview?
Who's that?
Jonathan Torrens. They're very similar. In a way, the way they speak and such. No, you don't get that?
Not as much as Jono. No, but...
Well, I'm not saying they're the same person.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what you're implying.
No. Okay, so talked earlier in the show about Nate Diaz, how he returned to the Octagon this past weekend. And we just wanted to dip into the archives and play Jay and I's interview with Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. And this thing kind of blew up a little because we kept poking the bear. Let's give it a listen. And Conor and Nate now join us. Conor, it got physical there at the end of your news conference. What happened?
The man's afraid to look me dead in the eye. So he put a frame out in front of him, and I quickly snatched it and broke his wrist.
You got a scared little cheesy shot on my hand because I'm going to put you to sleep with your gi on.
His little man up
to the conference.
Because I'm a Don, and that's what Dons do.
You got put out with that thing.
Your whole suit, my socks were worth more than your whole suit you had on, you little bum. You broke. I could buy and sell you 100 times over.
Nate, your thoughts on Conor taking a swing at you?
He's scared.
Did you get hurt? Was your hand hurt or anything like that?
The medics are in with him now. His wrist will never be the same. Like his bum knee, like his bum right leg.
Pull a chintzy little one.
I'm gonna take that right leg home.
Tell us how you trained for this fight, Nate. Because you didn't get much of a...
Train to kill, always.
And Conor, did you change your approach once it got named Nate for your fight?
The only approach I changed is I dug the grave a little bit wider, a little bit longer for Nate's skinny, fat, long body. That's the only difference I made.
Nate, Conor says this has been the easiest training week of his career. Do you think he's overlooking you?
Look at the lineups. He has fought little nobodies. Look at my last 20 fights. Better step it up for this one.
Conor, your response to that?
His last fight was a decision. I bounce heads off the canvas every time.
Against a normal-sized human being.
Conor, you said at the press conference last week that you actually liked Nick and Nate. Has your opinion changed about that now after this week?
No, there's no emotions in it. I have no problem with him. I'm going to slap the head off him. It's business as usual. I'll bury him, and you know, I'll let his gazelle team.
You got to recognize because he knows what's real. He knows this is the real.
See, you know it's the real. It's the real. You know it's the real. You know it's the real, and you'll know Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
You'll know Saturday night.
You'll know.
Nate, Conor has gone on record by saying that he's going to win by knocking you out. What's your approach? How do you think this fight's going to go down?
Yeah, we're going to see what happens to him Saturday. We'll see. Better hope. He better hope.
Hope for what?
Better hope he gets that knockout. Otherwise, it's going to be a up night for him.
And Connor, if you don't get the knockout, is it a up night for you?
If he's still conscious when he hits the mat, I will crush his hips and pass his guard and mount him and strangle him.
Out by two
I'll
nobodies.
strangle him.
How are you the
like
best?
Like a boa
if you ain't never
constrictor
heard of the
wrapped
guys who
around his
tapped you
long
out?
frame. A boa constrictor
No one
wrapping
knows
around
those
a
guys.
gazelle.
You were submitted by lames. Yeah, that was not even that long ago. That was like a week ago.
Nate, we saw you flip the crowd off after the press conference. What are you hearing from the hecklers out there?
Oh, they had a couple. I was just letting them know. I see them. But it's all good.
Are you intimidated at all? There's going to be a massive contingent of Irish fans, just like there have been for Connor's last few fights. Are you intimidated at all by that?
No, never. I got Irish fans hit me up, too. I got them out there.
Connor, you mentioned you buried 3 bodies in Vegas. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, one was an American named Dustin Poirier. The other was another American named Chad Mendez. And then finally was a pound-for-pound number 1 at the time, Jose Aldo, a Brazilian. I buried them in the dirt.
They were scared little women.
And now I'm going to bury this chump on Saturday
scared.
night.
Nate, that must get into your head when someone says they're going to bury you in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Connor, how close are you to 170 right now?
Sitting pretty. I'm sitting pretty up here.
Do you have much to cut, do you think?
Full belly.
Are you feeling good going into the
weight.
weekend? Yeah.
I'm on weight. I am on weight.
Nate, what brotherly advice is your brother giving you for this fight? Any at all?
His brother's in the club.
The day clubs? How close are you guys? How close are you guys to each other right now? Like, could you reach out and swing at each other right now, Connor?
No, he's hiding somewhere. I don't know where the he's at. You still gotta walk balls.
We'll see. We'll see. See, come and see what happens.
Yeah, right.
I told you I'll put a hole in your face.
Yeah, right.
You'll be breathing out of your rest of your life.
Yeah, right.
Parting shots for one another. Connor, let's start with you.
The talking is done. We're ready to fight now. This is just bull. All this, just going back and forth. We're ready to fight now. It's primed. It's sold. Let's do it.
Nate, Connor loves to make predictions about his fights. Nate, do you have a prediction for Saturday?
No, I don't. He don't believe his prediction.
I believe I'm gonna bounce your head off the canvas.
You don't believe it. Those you beat, they believed it. You don't even believe that. You hope.
Yeah, we'll see.
You hope.
We'll see.
You better hope.
Can't wait for Saturday, guys. Best of luck to both of you.
You don't believe that.
I believe you can't do nothing but survive. That's what you believe.
Right.
You're just praying you can survive.
Look at my lineup.
I can hear it in your voice. I can hear it in your words. You're just hoping to survive in there.
You over here
That's
acting.
it. If you get out a second, if you get out a first round, you're happy.
Staged rich
you're happy.
Kid. You're gonna
look for the
rich
your
people
exit,
shouldn't fight. Rich kids shouldn't fight ever. Real people fight. Real fighters fight, not rich kids.
I'll gut you like a fish, you tick.
You were born rich.
You don't know me. You don't know where the I came from. You little twerp. I'll ride into Stockton and take everyone out. Full of snitches in Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of Stockton in my life.
Yeah.
Canaries in Stockton, yeah? Sing like little canaries,
Why
I
you
heard.
calling people gazelles, too? You got the weakest, lamest lineup of training partners I ever even heard of.
I'm just looking at your little frame.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of an injured gazelle.
Yeah.
Strapped up.
People don't know
Take
what
your
that
top
means.
off. Take your
no
top
one knows
off.
what that means. It's
Take
in
your
America.
top off. Take your top off. You little fat, skinny.
Yeah, right. No one knows what gazelle is anyway. It's America. Get it right.
Thanks, fellas.
Okay, so that was Nate and Connor. That's when Connor was becoming a massive name. And then this is Nate Diaz when he returned to our studio So, again, that interview with Connor and Nate was not in person. So they were via satellite in different floors of a hotel while we were in a studio in L.A. So he returned to our studio for the first time and saw us in person, and this is what happened.
Oh, hey, we're back. That was amazing. Nate, you just told us that you were mad at us when we did that interview with you and Connor.
No, I was like, look at.
You're looking at the interview right now?
Nate, now join us. Connor, it got physical there at the end of your news conference. What happened?
See, I could hear these I couldn't see them. And now I just walked in here and I was like, these are the guys that I was gonna.
Why were you mad at us? Why were you
mad?
mad at Connor?
Well, I wouldn't really hit you, but like I felt like hitting whoever was talking to me at the moment.
Oh, was it just the moment, or was it the questions we were asking?
I thought one of you guys was Chael Sonnen. It sounded like one of you guys was Chael Sonnen.
No, we weren't.
I don't know who I thought that was me. Like, is this Chael? Why are you guys? Why are you me, Chael? Because I know Chael. I was like, why are you messing with me? But it was actually you when I saw the thing later. I was like, oh, that wasn't Chael Sonnen.
Yeah.
We're cool now, though, right?
Everything's
Good?
all right?
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
all I needed here.
I don't like that thing, though. You know how they had us, like, it looks like we're side by side. We're not nowhere near each other, and I couldn't see anybody. So I'm like, who the hell is laughing at me in my earphone, in my little earpiece?
Yeah. But we weren't laughing at you. We were the whole situation.
Well, yeah,
we were
it's
laughing.
hilarious if you're not fighting in a cage.
Yeah.
No, and we won't be anytime
And
soon.
here's the thing. So you like to curse a lot, but we found out that people that curse
I
a
don't
lot,
like to curse a lot. I don't like to curse.
but in the lead up you did, it's more honest and trustworthy people curse more. So there
Oh, they
you go.
do? That's crazy. That was the last time, though. My mom might be watching.
Do you like the lead up to the fight? Do you like having to do all that media?
No, I hate that. I know the circumstances I'm going to be under, you know. I try to be cool for the price here. But the situation, the circumstances is just like, you're flashing, you're cussing and stuff like that. But I got to get in the cage and I got to fight the guy, you know. So it's kind of hard to act right and talk like a civilized human being when I'm in a very uncivilized situation.
Was there genuine animosity? Did you genuinely hate Connor going into that?
No, I never hated him. I never hated anybody I fight. It's all good, Connor. You know, it's all
After the
good.
fight, have you guys spoken? Have you sent texts? to
No,
each
there
other?
ain't nothing to say. It's all good though. You know, it's all good with everybody. If we ain't fighting and we're not lined up to meet up and fight, then it's all good with everybody. But if we're gonna fight, stay your ass over there and I'll stay over here, you know? So that's how I feel. And everybody else is like, that's unsportsmanlike, but this is not a sport.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You could be like, we're on Fox Sports and everything, but this is, you know, this is a fight, and and that's genuine. I'm the only one acting like that. I mean, there's a few, but I'm the only one acting like we're in a real fight, because you know why? Because we are in a real fight, and that's the real attitude, and it's the way I really feel about it. And sometimes makes me the bad guy because of that, you know.
There's nothing wrong with being the villain.
Yeah, well, sometimes you want people to think you're nicer than you look on TV, you know what I'm saying?
After you won the fight, your post-fight interview with Jay Glazer and our guys was my favorite post-fight interview of all time. And you talked about the fact that you were on a beach when you got the call. Thinking back to that now, how were you feeling in that moment? Like you'd only gone a couple of rounds, but were you feeling beat up? Like when you're in a post-fight situation like that, are you like, I just want to get out of here?
No, I was more content with that moment than the rest of the week, building up to that, because the rest of the week is just like build up, build up, build up. You just want it all to end. You're like, can I just fight already? I'm over this. I understand it, though, and I could deal with it better than most people, you know, because I've been in this for so long. I've been fighting since I was 18, and I'm 30 now. I have more fights than anyone in the UFC. I have 25 fights.
So do you feel like it took way too long for you to get your due?
No, it's like, you know, sometimes people pick and choose, but I never picked and choose. I like just fought everybody all the time. I've been fighting top 5 guys since like my 3rd, 4th fight in the UFC. So I got 23 fights with top 10 contenders. And that's what I was trying to say. People were like, there's no way Nate beats Connor. I'm like, why? You're riding a bandwagon, because it's like, this guy's fought if he went through a quarter of the people I went through, he had already been done, weeded out already, you know?
The night before the McGregor fight.
Whoop these guys' asses. When I found out it was you guys on the little video, I was
Really?
like, dude,
You're starting to really scare me. You keep bringing that up.
No. Hey, they were laughing at me on the thing. I was like, dude, these guys are not funny. It was like I was being toyed with. They're like, what are you? What did I say?
Nate,
I said,
here's the thing.
let me tell you what I said. I was like, he better knock me out, otherwise he's gonna have some serious problems. And you guys start laughing. You're like, is he? Is he gonna have problems? Asking him, and then he started talking. And I was like, I don't even care about this guy anymore. Who the is instigating this? Chael Sonnen, is that you? I wasn't even Chael Sonnen. I thought
it was Chael.
on the mic. I thought I was like, why are you doing this? You used to be a retired fighter, and now you're instigating fights. I was heated.
But Nate, here's the thing.
But it's all good now.
We're all right?
I was happy that I was like, man, thank God Chael wasn't instigating fights between me and this guy. But it was you. It was you.
Yeah,
and,
it was. But we weren't trying to make fun of you.
We aren't good broadcasters, so we're like little kids.
You guys make good TV also. You guys make good TV too, then. You know what I'm saying?
So we're good?
TV.
We're good?
Yeah, we're cool, but I'm not fighting right now. If I hear you call me the next time, I'll be like, quit calling here. You know what I'm saying? If he calls me the next time. So as of right now, though, we're all good.
All right, that sounds
no
good.
problem.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Can I ask you? I got a question. I'm just laughing. That's amazing. I got two envelopes here. I got a question from a Twitter follower, and I got a question from our audio guy, Bobby Diaz, who I don't think is related to you, Nate, but I'm not 100% sure. Do you want the question from Bobby, or do you want the question from Twitter?
Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
good
great
choice.
Great choice. Bobby's question is this. This is a dumb question. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? I'm so sorry, Nate. I'm so sorry. That's garbage.
That was the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
Well, you've never met Bobby.
Yeah.
So
He's right over there.
Is that Bobby? Bobby, you a fool, man. Hey, he's right there behind the camera.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
You guys set Bobby up.
Yeah, we really did.
We did.
We really did.
Nate, this has been great.
This has been fun. Will you come back and hang out with us again?
Yeah. Can I have something?
Sure.
Yeah, take whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
We don't own any of it.
Yeah.
Those are stuck there. Okay, they aren't stuck anymore.
Perfect. We'll be back. Hard Knocks trailer right after this.
A good guy. You know how we loosened him up? Tequila. Because we used to have booze on that set, and if a guest was nervous, we'd ask every single guest, do you want a shot? 70% of them would say yes.
Really?
Yep. So he wanted 2 shots, and then when we finished, we did 2 more.
Nice.
It was a loose show. Those were different times.
Different place.
Yeah. And Nate, this week, maybe you can set this one up here, Stoff. In the lead up to his fight, I believe someone asked him if fatherhood had changed him.
Yeah, so the reporter asking the question is actually in this clip, and they ask if the birth of his daughter has changed his approach to fighting.
Congratulations on your win down front.
Thank you very much.
No problem. So a lot has changed in your personal life since we last saw you fight, namely your daughter. And has being a father now changed the way you approach the fight or just the way you think about the entire game?
I've been a father for years. Fathering all kinds of these little
It's affectionate.
He's an interesting guy. We played the clip of him coming out to the open workout smoking a big CBD joint, and had to explain to a lot of people the difference between CBD and THC. So I can do it quickly here. CBD is the new thing. It's good for pain relief, and you smoke it, or you can take it in pill form, and it does not make you high.
It's weed without the fun.
Yes. But THC, that's where he said, okay, I'm going to smoke the THC after this. Nate Diaz is a big proponent of marijuana. So he's an interesting cat. Well, I think we're done here. As I mentioned, next week will be our final podcast without Jay, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
And then we're reunited. We are not off until Christmas time. And then the podcast, it's going to fly by.
Yep.
Of
You
those
gotta
cities,
sell out.
so Stoff, you're coming on the tour every stop. Of those cities, any of that you've not been to and you're excited about seeing?
Outside of Vancouver, I don't think I've been to any of them.
Oh my goodness,
so
your
this will
socks are going to be blown off.
This will be quite fun.
You might move to one of these cities when we're done.
I might have to.
Wait, why?
I don't know, in case I don't make my flight for the next stop. Who knows?
Okay, but we're on a team system here. We're going to make sure no one misses flights.
So there's going to be a head count every time?
That's right.
All right, I like
That's why I made it back from Bristol because we had to make a 3-hour drive from Bristol to Charlotte. And my phone was ringing at 6:45, and we were supposed to be in the lobby at 7. And it rang a bunch. I'm like, hello? I'm like, okay, let's get going. I'm like, no, we said 7. They said 6:45. I'm like, anyway. I knew they weren't leaving without me. So it's always good. Have the buddy system. Don't leave anyone behind.
That's a good call. I almost got left behind on a school trip in Europe as our group went on like their public system in bus system in Rome, and I fell asleep in one of the chairs. And when I woke up, our tour leader was quietly ushering everyone else off the bus. So it was a close one.
A student left behind in Rome? Those teachers, they would have been fired.
That was a different time. Back then, you used to lose a kid or two.
Yeah, you probably did. Okay, we're going to talk to you next week. Who's appearing next week? I don't know. Maybe Bobby Roode, if he's not in the ring. Maybe Dontrell Willis, who's now ignoring every message I sent him. Oh, well. In my next life, I will not be a guest booker because I'm batting about 200 in booking of guests.
Well, you came out of the gate strong, though. That first episode, you had three guests back to back to back. You set the bar too high. It was unrealistic then.
Yeah. Okay.
And now here we are.
Aim low.
That's my slogan.
See you next week.